Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Dr. Melissa Corley Carter. And I hope I pronounced your name right. Hello and welcome.
Yes, you certainly did. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you for being here. And I would like to introduce you to our audience. You are the barefoot dancing rocket scientist. You use principles, basic principles of rocket science to help rockstar humans reclaim their power, own their awesomeness, and take giant leaps of faith. This is amazing. You have to tell us more about that and also about your marathons. What is this? Wow.
Yes. Oh, so many places, but yes, also marathons. Yes, I ran a marathon on all 7 continents.
Oh, because you wrote a book. I see it in the background, coffee table book. That sounds
Mhm.
amazing. Wow, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and what inspired you to all that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So what inspired me from the very beginning was when I was about 11 or 12 in fifth grade, an astronaut came and talked to my class, and I decided I wanted to be an astronaut. And I had already always loved space and Star Trek and Star Wars and all the things. And I decided I was going to do that and never looked back. And for 20 years, I followed that path. I did all the math and science, got all the engineering degrees, joined the Air Force, did all of these things, and always had bad eyesight, but trusted that eventually, they would start allowing surgery to have corrected eyesight, which they did. So I ended up having eye surgery and had 20/20 vision. And so it was 2012 when I was finally ready to apply, and I applied, and they said that my eyesight before LASIK, my surgery, was so bad that I was disqualified anyway.
Oh,
So, whew, so after 20 years of that was my plan, and I didn't have a backup plan, I, didn't really know what to do with my life. And so kind of stayed on the proverbial fast track to the outside world, but didn't really internally, I really was adrift, and I didn't really know what to do next. But I was still kind of going through all the motions. And so it's been a very long kind of healing discovery process, but it has turned out, as so many of our challenges do, turned out to be the greatest gift in the world, because it, first of all, I got to have all the experiences and do all the things that led to that in the first place. I did, with the rocket science, I have learned that I can actually apply all the things I learned about rocket science to what I do now as a life coach and help people literally. Rocket science in essence is about going from where you are to where you want to be. And it's about acknowledging progress and adjusting course. And it's about letting go to lift off. And these are all things that we do in life, and this is what life is all about. So really everything is rocket science, which I just love so much, because everyone jokes, well, it's not rocket science, it's not rocket science, but it actually is. And
wow.
and so here we are, full circle. And I'll say the other big thing that I've learned through the healing process is really focusing on finding the goal behind the goal. So when I really asked myself what I wanted in being an astronaut, with many years of perspective, decades later, I can actually look back and say, actually, I think that I was already aware of this intuitive spiritual connection with the universe. And I wanted to inspire people to greatness the way astronauts had always inspired me. And I was really inspired by the vision of a unified and harmonious world, which, when the astronauts go up in space, they say you can't see borders, you can't, you just see the blue marble, and so all of that, I think, really inspired me. And so inspiring other people to greatness and contributing to world harmony and all these things and being connected to the universe, I get to do that every day now, and I don't have to be an astronaut for that. So the lesson there for me is really, if you there's something you really, really want, ask yourself what it is that inspires you about that, and what inspires you about that, and kind of keep digging to the deepest purpose. And there are a million ways to do that, and it doesn't require one specific outcome. So yeah, let me pause there. That was a lot.
This was a lot to process, and thank you so much. When I think about astronauts, I think also about the light speed. So when you help people to go from here to wherever they want to go, and you use light speed, then it can happen fast.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And also about your eyesight, yes, that you have the vision now. You have it. You have the better vision. You don't need glasses. I assume I had it too. This is why I was so surprised what you were telling me. Thank you so much. And my next question is, who inspires you?
Who inspires me? A great question. So many people inspire me. I guess I have the gift, I think, of being easily inspired. It doesn't take much. But I'm really inspired by my clients, the people I work with. I am inspired by stories of the human spirit, people actually overcoming challenges and realizing what their purpose is and following it. And also people who, and these are more generalities than specific people, but people who say no to societal expectations and follow their hearts, because there is so much, there's so many expectations, and you go to college and you get the job and you get get married and have kids and family and white picket fence and all these things that we're supposed to want, and many people do either don't end up achieving that and feel badly about themselves, or do end up achieving that and then are unhappy and don't really know why, because they actually don't really know what they want. So people who pause long enough to really get in touch with what they really want and then build the courage to go after it, I find really inspiring. So
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I see this. So you would recommend to people who are unhappy, or no, I don't know, who to pause and to ask themselves what they really want, and then to take the steps.
yes, yes, and there's also a little bit of an overwhelm associated with that. Like when you do pause, it's very possible to think, well, I actually don't know what I want, and even a short pause from the treadmill, from the fast pace of life, doesn't always have this immediate epiphany. And so then people like, well, oh, that didn't work. I'm just going to go back to the grindstone. But it's sort of like a regular habit of connecting with yourself, creating multiple pauses, and also not needing to know the end outcome, just taking one step, even asking the universe, okay, what is my next step? What do I really want? And just seeing what if an idea lands, or a song on the radio, or something, like signs come in when you ask questions. And so there is a part of it that's asking questions too, not just trying to figure it out with your mind. So there's that, you get help from the universe when you ask the questions, and letting yourself just take one small step at a time. Again, sort of space metaphor, but you don't need to know the final outcome. That changes all over the map. So just take one little step in a direction that feels really good to you and see what happens.
Oh, that sounds good. I will do this. Thank you so
You're welcome.
You inspired me. And you said this is your purpose, or it became your purpose, or you became aware of that it was always your purpose to inspire people. So how do you inspire people today?
So, I find that, they say my mission in life is to shine my light and inspire you to shine yours. And so I think what it is just being myself and sharing my story, sharing, the experiences I've had, and also being curious about others. So like asking them questions about what inspires them, and then, starting to follow that track. So I think that what the world really needs is for everyone to be themselves and shine their light. And so it is, so me doing that, I feel like, for myself, hopefully, models the way for others, and gives others permission to do the same. And the more people do that, the more people catch on, and the more people, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I hear this very often, be yourself. And
Mhm.
most of the people don't know what it is. Who is this person?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. We can work
And,
on
and that's a really great point. I find that too. And I think that sometimes actually one of the first things that can help with that is, instead of trying to figure out who you are, maybe identify who you're not. So what parts of your current life feel out of alignment? What do you want less of in your life? And that might, and because usually we don't know who we are because we're so bogged down in the doing of daily life. And we just, again, haven't taken a pause to ask what we really want. So I think I think maybe one of the easiest things to do if you don't know who you are and be yourself, so is yes, of course, very cliche and also very stressful if you feel like you're not connected. So that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to immediately have this light bulb of, I know who I like. If you really knew, you'd be doing it, right? So so I think it's identifying what is not working that is the good for, and taking some small steps to eliminate that, or at least change it, even change the way you think about it, that can change your experience of it. And that's a good place to start.
Yes, absolutely. I know these two lists of what I want and what I don't want anymore. Yes, I did this before. Thank you so much for sharing, for reminding me and us, the audience, what are your gifts and talents? You told us already a little bit. There is so much more. Yes.
You know, I feel like actually one of my biggest superpowers is actually shifting perspective. I have, it's easy for me to, for something to happen or to hear a story from someone else's life and see another perspective. So incidentally, one of the more recent things that I have landed on that I'm really excited about is conflict coaching. So helping people work through conflict. And I think a lot of that is really and truly seeing things from another perspective. And it's really easy to get caught in thinking that your story is the only story out there. And so all through my life, and even before I was a coach, I remember, even I'd be talking to my mom, or I'd be talking to a friend or my sister, and they'd be sharing a story, and I would share what maybe the other person might be thinking. And they're like, well, how do you know that? I'm like, I have no idea, but it's always been there. And so I think that, and I also, in my coaching training, I also learned something called energy leadership, which is a really powerful framework for shifting your mindset, shifting your energy. So a lot of mindset work comes out of that. So again, so shifting perspective. I've had it reflected to me that one of my superpowers is smiling without the aid of coffee, because I'm always smiling and always cheerful, and I don't drink coffee. so there's that. And then also the other one is really reflecting people's greatness back to them. So again, taking in people's stories and where they think they're kind of ho hum or normal. Well, that's easy for me. Like, well, but it's not easy for everyone else. Like, there's your superpower. So reflecting people's greatness back to them.
Wow, I love that very much. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow, I have to re-listen to this episode. Yeah, again, to the replay, there were so many nuggets already. And we talked about goals a little bit. Do you set goals for yourself or intentions? And what are your goals for 2024?
So I have shifted over the years from, I was very goal driven, obviously astronaut thing, and then running marathons on all 7 continents. I set that goal and achieved it and all that. But I do think that as I have grown and learned and matured, I am more in the vein of intention setting rather than goals. Because I've also learned to give myself grace, and goals honestly don't really inspire me anymore. There's general ways of being that I want to be in, but I feel like I've kind of been there, done that with the goal setting. And so it's when I set intentions or visions, it's really about how do I really want to be and show up in the world, which becomes much less attached to goals. So my goals for 2024, or intentions for 2024, are I think just to keep growing in my sense of purpose, in my I think confidence that I am literally every single day living my purpose. And then I will say an actual sort of more specific material thing in the world. My husband and I are actually building our forever home that we're planning to move to next year after it's finished. So that is actually a concrete goal, work on the house, but also in a building process, there are always stressors. So I think my intention is to show up, allow myself to get frustrated when I get frustrated, but then kind of return to my calm. So again, a way of being goal for something as concrete as building a house.
Wow, this sounds great. A way of being goal. And when you talked about a house, a home, there you can see it. I like this as example. When you construct it, you see it on paper first, and then in reality. I love that so much. Congratulations. You will
Thank
see
you.
it next year, and then you move in. Wow.
Mhm.
Amazing. So my next question is, yeah, you talked about your book already. I see it in the background, and I think the cards there. What are the cards? May I ask?
Of course, of course. Yes, the cards are so the coffee table book is about it has photos from all the continents. I love photography and I took pictures on all of my marathon journeys and didn't really think about making a book. So I finished the marathons in 2012 and then actually the book came out in 2021. So it came later. I didn't have the idea to make it at the time, but it just was one of those ideas that sort of landed and whoo, yeah, of course, like that's absolutely what I'm here for. So I did that, and then I actually had the idea to do a wisdom card deck that from the photos. So I already had the photos, and each one basically I picked a bunch of photos from each continent and gave them names for the themes that they evoked in me, and then wrote messages. So I actually there's 56 of them, and I ended up creating them over the course of 13 months, like one a week for 13 months. And well, so there's a goal setting that I did and followed through on. But yeah, so they just have kind of wisdom and reflections based on the theme. So here's one, for example, there's a picture on the front and then a little message on the back, and just draw one and it gives you some inspirational reflection points. And so it's been really fun to create, and it came out in real card deck form last summer, and people have I've been really honored and humbled by the response. People have just loved them so much and are doing all different things with them. Some people are drawing one every day, and some people are drawing one a week and discussing it with their partner, at the end of the week, and how did that influence us? And so it's been really, really cool to see it kind of trickling out into the world and making a difference.
Wow, I love it. I felt attracted by it. When I see it and I read about it already. Yes, thank you so much for sharing. And when people reach out to you after listening to this episode, how can they support you?
Wow, you can find me at my website, epiclifeactually.com. And as far as to support me, support yourself, reach out, send me a message, send me maybe an insight, maybe something you've learned from the podcast. If you want to grab a book or a card deck, please certainly do that. And follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Melissa Corley Carter. Instagram is my favorite, so that's the one I kind of do the most. But yeah, connecting and support yourself. That is the greatest thing you can do to help the entire world.
Oh, I love that very much. Thank you. And this podcast is also to connect people all over the world. And I want to travel the world by doing the podcast interviews. Yes, this is thing, just like you. And then I follow. I follow in real. Yes. And do you have a last message for our audience?
I think that I have so many. All right, which one do I want to share?
You can share them all.
Well, one of the big ones for me really is that your life purpose and why you're here is not about what you do. It is about being you. And I know we talked about it, and in some ways that can produce some stress of like, but I don't know what that means. And that's where you go into all the things we already talked about, taking the small steps. So that would be the other big piece, is that the universe has your back. The universe wants you to succeed in being yourself. So ask a question and take a tiny step towards the next vision or the next goal. ask another question, take another little step. You don't have to know the end before you get started. So just take a step towards your dreams.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, this was amazing, and see you in the next episode.